My name is Martin. I'm 26 years old. I was here the first year when Helpus opened up their doors, which was 2013, I believe, summer. And yeah, that's basically where my story started, or the reason why I'm here today. Yeah, I apologize, I'm a little bit sick. But yeah, well, with Helpus, I studied here for 1.5 years. Then I went abroad to Germany. I was at European University Munich. I can warmly recommend this university. It was great, at least for me. After that, I came back to Finland beginning of 2015, wrote my bachelor's thesis about renewable energy and this kind of stuff. And yeah, at the same time, I started working for a startup company called Flow Drinks, which is a Finnish company producing natural sports drinks. And I was basically started as a summer trainee, went on to becoming a marketing assistant and then the sales manager for this company. It was a small company, so the title was more about just giving me a little bit of ego boost. But yeah, I worked there for 1.5 years. During that time, I also started an e-commerce business with a couple of friends. So we had this active lifestyle webpage or e-commerce business called Tech Firm, and we did this for over a year or so. Basically importing Xiaomi stuff from Asia, China, and then selling it through our webpage here in Finland. It was a good learning experience. Not that we made too much money with it, but we learned how to start a company and go through all the bureaucracy that is here in Finland, and yeah, also how to do tax, customs and taxes and all this kind of stuff. So it was, in this sense, this was all very good for us. During the same time, I also started working for my first blockchain company. So that would be BlockPay. We were creating a POS system running on top of a blockchain, which would accept multiple different digital currencies. And this was a German company, actually through a friend of mine who I met back in Germany, in Munich, when I was studying there. He called me approximately 2 years ago during that summer of 2015, or was it 16? Really doesn't matter, but he called me like, hey, do you know what blockchain is, what Bitcoin is? And I was like, sure, yeah, not really. And yeah, then I started learning about this stuff, and this project never really took off, so I spent like a year or so representing them here in the Nordics. During that time, I talked to a few banks and IT companies here in Finland, just about what's their approach with this new blockchain technology. And yeah, I also tried to start my own company during this same time called Craft Ball Nordics, where we had a licensing deal with a Slovenian company to start production of Euro pallets made out of cardboard. So this would have been kind of an eco-friendly solution for the logistics companies. But yeah, as you can see, I was basically working on 4 or 5 different projects simultaneously. So one key takeaway from that is that diversifying your attention too much doesn't really lead to anything. So it was beginning of this year when I kind of put everything else on the side and joined this ETHLend project. I've been part of this recent project for the past year, and now it's my full-time job. Yeah, that's where I spend most of my day and time. But yeah, so you guys want to hear more about entrepreneurship in overall, or anyone is interested in blockchain and cryptocurrencies? Okay, does anyone know what a blockchain is? Oh, we have one guy. Do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yeah, I have a general idea. It's about it's about transaction, and if someone wants to transfer bit currency to someone else, there needs to be more than half people saying, okay, this is approved, so then the transaction will proceed.
Alright, so yeah, let's do a brief overview of basically what it is even that I'm doing. So there are this new technology emerging called blockchain, which is a distributed ledger. So basically the first implementation of this ledger was Bitcoin, and probably everyone has by this time heard of Bitcoin. That is the first blockchain application or currency running or utilizing the blockchain technology currently. And you're right, it's basically a distributed ledger, which means that there's a network of people or nodes, however you want to say it. And all these people that are part of the network hold their own copy of the current status of the ledger. So basically what this enables is global transference of value, where we can transact with other people without having any middleman. And we can trust that the status of the ledger is always current and accurate because there are multiple copies. So for example, if I download the Bitcoin transaction ledger and I make a change to it, it just doesn't work because there's this whole network of other people that are going to say, hey, this is a fraudulent version of the current status of the ledger. And Bitcoin was basically the first implementation of this technology. It's basically only a cryptocurrency, so you can transact value between people. What is more interesting and what we're utilizing currently is the Ethereum blockchain. So that was developed, I think, 2013 or launch. And what Ethereum basically enables is this thing called smart contracts, which is basically us writing, well, for example, financial applications where all the logic and the rules and everything is put on these smart contracts. So basically these are digital contracts that are immutable, so you cannot change them afterwards. They're transparent, so anyone can basically check the ledger and see all the transactions that are happening. And the way we are utilizing the Ethereum blockchain is by creating a financial application called ETHLend, as you can see here, which is a decentralized peer-to-peer lending platform. What decentralized basically means is that it's, distributed amongst all the users, and there is no central authority or third party that can control how these loans are done. So what we basically do is peer-to-peer lending, where we have this framework, which is a web application, where you can issue a loan request and you can get funded. We do currently that crypto to crypto. So it's over collateralized loans where you pledge some kind of digital asset and then again get some other digital assets. So basically what you're doing is you're leveraging your cryptocurrency portfolio for additional liquidity. And yeah, we started this project, or I joined the project last year around April, and this is approximately the same time when we launched our MVP, or minimum viable product. So we had our beta version on the Ethereum mainnet back then. After that, So yeah, after that we did this new thing called ICO, initial coin offering, which is basically digital crowdfunding. So we were 25 people all over the world. So I'm in Finland, our founder is in Finland, we have our CEO from Paris, one girl, our CMO from El Salvador, then we had a couple of guys from Germany, one from Bali. So all these 25 people were spread across the world, and we basically worked remotely. Nobody was getting paid anything. We had zero budget to do any marketing or so forth. And it was September last year when we did the first pre-ICO. So we basically broke down this digital crowdfunding campaign into two pieces. The pre-ICO, which is kind of like a small, what would I call it? A small round to prepare us for the bigger round of investment. And yeah, the way it basically works is that we issue our own cryptocurrency token, which is built on top of the Ethereum platform. So Ethereum would be the blockchain that we're currently running on top of, and what we've issued is our own native token called Lend token. And with the help of this model, we raised 17 million USD dollars approximately at that time. And yeah, this was a pretty good accomplishment considering that we were 25 young people all over the world without any budget. So since that, we've set up our operational team. So we have a legal entity in Estonia, basically for the reason that since cryptocurrencies have no legal status here, they are not considered to be part of any asset class. This means that there is this possibility that a Finnish company, by issuing such a digital asset or token and receiving funds or capital, this capital could be considered as cash flow for the company, which then again would be taxable. Whereas with the Estonian entity, all the retained earnings are non-taxable. So yeah, that's basically the reason why we did the crowdfunding campaign from an Estonian legal entity. Now we're based in Switzerland, Chiasso, which is south of Switzerland at the border of Italy, close to Lake Como, and that's where our office is, and that's where most of the people is, and that's where I will be moving by the end of this year. And yeah, we launched our, well, not the latest, but the second latest update mid-December, and since that we have done in total value of over 15 million of loans, so that would be a few thousand loans combining a total value of approximately 15,000 USD dollars. So there's clearly some traction for the platform that we've deployed, and there are few early users so far. And what we're currently doing is basically building new features into the platform, and as this kind of develops this standard, because it's basically what blockchain is. It's a protocol running on top of the internet. So this is, well, yeah, let's not go into too much detail regarding that. But basically what we're currently doing is creating new standards for this protocol called Ethereum. For example, for the past few months, we've been working together with Consensus, which is one of the biggest kind of development companies in the Ethereum space, full house IT company, and we've been working with them together to create kind of a universal loan standard that would be running on top of the Ethereum protocol, which we announced a couple of weeks ago. And this is super exciting for us because we basically what we consider ourselves to be is a fintech company. So instead of basically selling the token or whatever, we are trying to produce technology that we can then sell or license forward. And yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what we do. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
Yes, can you clarify a little bit? If I understood correctly, your platform enables investors to lend money to entrepreneurs. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, I would say it's more of a consumer to consumer currently. So what we're doing is over collateralized loans. So you need some kind of token that is running on the same protocol ERC20 that we're running on top of, which is basically 90% of all the thousands of tokens that have been issued so far. Yeah, by pledging your existing tokens on the platform, you can get a loan in either Ethereum, Ether, or then lend our native token. What we also do, we peg this loan value because price volatility is quite high with the cryptocurrencies, so they might be going up and down 10 to 30% on a daily basis. So we can also peg the loan value to USD through Oracleize. So we bring a price feed from an exchange to the smart contract, and this way the loan can be valued at USD, so you don't have to float the price of whatever blockchain token you have there as collateral. But yeah, currently it's over collateralized loans secured by tokens, and that's basically how it works. So far the process has been initiated by the borrower, so someone looking for a loan, placing a loan request, putting the collateral in place, and then all the lenders can see all the loans that are available on the platform. And what we actually did a completely new release last week when we were in New York, and this basically changed the whole user interface and the user experience of the platform. So far it's been looking like Windows 95, and now it looks maybe like Windows XP, I don't know. Way better, but still a long way to go. But yeah, now what we introduced with the latest update is our own native token lend as a medium of exchange. So far all the loans have been paid out in Ether, either floating to price or pegged to USD. But what we can now do is pay out the loan also in lend. So by making our own native token lend as a medium of exchange, this creates, first of all, a lot of more utility for the token to actually be used in the platform, because we introduce also zero fee lending if you use this token. But the main or the biggest reason is probably because currently we have 135 or so collateral tokens that can be unlocked on the platform. This is a total market cap of, let's say, approximately $50 billion. And just by unlocking Ethereum as a collateral, we have access to another 70 or so billion USD dollars. And yeah, that's basically the latest update, with some risk management tools such as collateral calling and collateral refilling. So like I said, the price volatility of cryptos is quite high. So if the price starts falling radically, then the value of the collateral starts going down. And as soon as the value of the collateral goes below 100%, then the borrower is going to be like, what the hell would I pay back? Because the value of the collaterals that he put up is less than what he took out. So what we've introduced is collateral calling. So the lender can call in the collateral of the loan if the value of the collateral goes down. And collateral refilling then again for the borrower side. So in order for a borrower to stop this from happening, he can always refill his position. And yeah, so we're adding new features. And why this is kind of interesting is the fact that smart contracts are in a very early stage. It's kind of like everyone is still building the infrastructure for the whole marketplace, whereas we actually have a working product and some volume and so forth. Yeah.
Is it that like you are betting that if you are letting people have you are basically insuring the collateral for the Ethereum lenders to receivers, and if the price goes down, they will just take the collateral to themselves.
Yeah.
So isn't, in your perspective, isn't that just like betting that the Ethereum overall will go up? Because if it falls down, all of the lending will eventually make so much a big loss that you will have to stop loaning everybody.
Yeah, so you're right about the fact that if the collateral tokens, they can fall in value even harder than Ethereum, and especially if the whole market is going down, then the collateral tokens, that creates an issue, and this is basically why we did the collateral calling. So when you're closing in on 100% plus the interest, so if someone is lending you, borrowing from you and promising, let's say 3% monthly interest rate, you can collateral call at 100 plus the premium, so 103%. And that's when you have the option of doing the collateral calling. So basically, once we issue the API, so we're building our own API in order for people to automate these processes. So once it's automated, there's basically no risk for the lender to lose his capital, unless there's a price cap. So the price actually doesn't fall like one candle after each other, there's just one big red candle, then there's a possibility to lose in this case. But just to clarify something, we don't do any of this. So it's completely decentralized peer-to-peer. So what this basically means is that the people on the platform, the borrowers and the lenders, they meet in this trustless environment. We just provide the framework where they can do this. So the smart contract that we've deployed, once you go on the platform and you fill in a loan request or you do a offering of your funds, then it's all done on the smart contract. Every time there's a new loan request that gets funded, it deploys a new smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. So basically, we don't hold any customer assets. It's all locked in this smart contract, kind of like escrow. And there's no way we can close the loan afterwards or alter it in any way. So basically, what we're just providing is a framework.
Where do you get your profits from or revenues?
Yeah, we have a fee both on the lender and borrower side. So we take a fee from the collateral tokens that are put up, 0.5%, or then we take a 10% cut on the premium, so the interest rate the lender is making.
What are the typical interest rates?
Well, in the beginning we had way higher interest rates. It was almost like 10-20% per month. It could go that high. Now we're seeing more so maybe 1 to 3% per month, but for example, now that we open up the lender side offerings, so far it's been the borrowers issuing a loan request and by basically them dominating what is the interest rate. Now we have the lender side open as well, so the lenders can say, hey, here's some capital available with these certain terms, and you can clearly see that the differences between the interest rates, what is being offered and what is being requested, it's a bit different. But but that's all up to the market, so we cannot do anything about the interest rates. It's pretty much for the lenders and borrowers to come to terms, and it's easy to say that if someone is lending out and asking for an interest rate of 10%, someone can come on the platform and say, hey, well, I'm going to lend out with a 5% interest rate or 2% interest rate, and those are the loans that are going to be taken. Whereas if a borrower is promising you 10% on a monthly rate, then that's a loan that's definitely going to get funded, whereas someone who is promising you 1% then might be left outside. But so far, pretty much everything is getting funded on our platform.
How long is the typical loan duration?
The maximum loan duration is 360 days, so we have 12 installments maximum, and the longest installment can be 30 days. So usually it's, let's say, 30 to 60 days, maybe 90 days, something like this, but you can go all the way up to 360. You just have to remember that then there's payment installments, so you have to pay back the loan partially during the whole process. But yeah, that's basically how it's currently working. Yeah.
Do you have the similar type of when there are like person to person, like fellow finance or similar sites where they like check the people's credit history in order that the lenders will know that okay, this is more safe people safer people to lend money, and then they will be like automatically approved to be as a lenders. And if they have a problem with their credit history, then they are denied that no, you are not able to apply a loan. So do you have similar? Like,
yeah, that's an interesting question. Currently, we do it in a completely pseudo-anonymous environment, which means that the only thing we know about the lenders and borrowers is 0x and a bunch of random numbers, which is their Ethereum address. We're implementing KYC, so soon know your customer. So soon we will be able to identify all the users. But it's interesting because if you look at the whole blockchain space, it's driven by this ideological belief that we should decentralize the whole world, basically cut all the middlemen away. So it's basically showing the middle finger to all the banks and financial institutions. Not something I'm too happy about or eager about, because I think we kind of have to merge this new revolution, the Internet 3.0, with the already existing financial institutions. I think that's the way for mass adoption. But yeah, what we currently do, we actually introduce decentralized gamified credit profile. So what we're trying to do in this pseudo-anonymous environment is create kind of a behavior-based, personalized credit rating by looking at the transaction history of a specific Ethereum address. So let's say if you're a borrower who always pays back the loan on time, you're gonna get a badge that says you're a Swiss clock. If you're a lender and always asking for more than 10% interest rate or 15%, you're gonna get a loan shark badge. And the more we have these kind of badges, and the more you use the platform, the better picture you kind of get of what the person, what kind of behavior the person is doing on the platform. And this, without knowing who the person is, we can kind of get a very personalized and behavior-based picture of that person. But like I said, the KYC is coming, so we have partnered with Bloom, which is a blockchain project where they create identity on the blockchain. So imagine your personal identity being put on the blockchain, so it's there forever, immutable, nobody can make any changes, and basically you hold the keys to this identity. And these guys, yes, they run your identity against all these FICO ratings and all these traditional credit rating places, so you get a quite good picture of what the person's credit rating could be. But yeah, once this is implemented, then this problem gets solved automatically.
Yeah. Actually, I think a week ago, HSBC claimed the first commercially viable finance trade transaction using blockchain.
Yeah.
So what does this mean? Because you mentioned the traditional finance sector, what this means actually for you?
Well,
do you see this as competition, or I mean, where are you?
No, I think it's very good. And we were just in New York at the blockchain week with, over 8,000 people there, all the banks, and we met with some of the banks. But well, it's a twofold question. First of all, most of these banks that are, or whatever financial institutions they get involved with the blockchain space with a kind of a different mentality. So they think this is a cool new technology, so they want to implement it in their own operations. But what they usually end up doing is taking a private blockchain. So what Ethereum is a public blockchain, so the ledger is transparent, anyone can check any address or any wallet, whereas these private blockchains, what the banks are going for, they're much more limited in this sense. I mean, it does bring some benefits to it, like scalability, so, but at the end of the day, if you kind of skip the whole decentralization and all this kind of ideological stuff, all you're left with is basically a glorified database. So I think the fundamental shift or that blockchain brings with it, the disruption, it's all in the decentralization and smart contracts as well, and all this kind of stuff that is being developed on these public ledgers. But yeah, there's definitely a place for these private blockchains as well, so which are referred to as distributed ledger technology. So yeah, I think the DLT is very interesting. But what does it enable at the end of the day? Banks making more efficient transactions with each other, and you would still, in order for that to work, you would have to get kind of banks in different local geographical locations to work together to use the same kind of blockchain. And what I think we're seeing a bit too much is the banks kind of focusing on on their own stuff. There are some consortiums like R3, which is a consortium of 100 or so banks all working together, kind of figure out what they can do with this technology. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see the banks and the financial institutions start moving towards this space.
Just as you say that you are like in a middleman, that you still think that the blockchain has its own problems. Do you have any ethical ideas about, let's say, if I would be conducting some shady business and I would need financing to get scaling up, to get my shady business more scaled up, this would be a perfect opportunity for me to get funding, and I would be excellent payer.
Yeah,
I would get an excellent rating because it's all anonymous. So do you have thoughts about counter that?
Yeah, there's a lot of news about Bitcoin being the reason why all this criminality get funded, and that's what the terrorists use, and that's other rubbish. That's just propaganda by the news sites. I don't know what's the reason behind it, because Bitcoin by nature is a public ledger. So all the transactions are recorded, and as soon as you connect your Bitcoin to some kind of fiat gateway, so you're selling it on an exchange or something, then yeah, that's completely public. I mean, you can of course use over-the-counter OTC markets and this way do it, but at the end of the day, it's a public ledger that anybody can check and follow the transaction history. So I think
police would be able to check in
very much
if they
so.
just want to do it.
Yeah, very much so. So as soon as you can track one transaction, you can see the address, you can follow back the transaction history, and I think that's kind of an overstatement that Bitcoin. There are cryptocurrencies that are completely private using this kind of CK-SNARK technology. So it's zero knowledge. You don't know the amount that has been sent. You don't know who is sending it. It's basically just a mashup of transactions with no data on them, or it's all basically been hidden. So there are cryptocurrencies that would work for this use case. But I mean, you had the same thing with the internet in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Who the hell would put their credit card on the internet in 1995 or 1998, because it was full of scammers? Nowadays your credit card is hooked up to iTunes, Netflix, all these different services. So I think it's more of a misconception, yeah. But with us, we are implementing the KYC, so that should solve this problem for sure.
How do you see your company's future? Like, what would be your goal in the next 5 years or something like that?
To become a global fintech house. So ETHLend, what we're currently doing, it's just one product. We have a couple of other ones in the pipeline. After that, it's just selling the smart contract technology that we're producing, or more so licensing it to, for example, the banks and the institutionals if they're interested. So that is probably the bigger version or the bigger vision for the company. But yeah, so far it's been good. We've had great amount of volume, and we've been talking to, for example, at this conference, we talked to some of the banks. It's funny because some of them reply by just saying that we're gonna crush you if you come to our space, and if we can't crush you, we'll get a few other banks with us and we'll crush you together. And some others are like, this is super interesting and innovative.